Hello guys and welcome back to Rule the Waves 3. We just got out of another war. We've had, oh god, just so many wars. Let's show the history real quick. You see every war that we've ever had. Our first war with Italy that ended in a white peace. We had 3 major victories and that was all the battles. Didn't get anything. Then we had a short war with Russia. This right here was in 1902. 1909 comes along, much further off. We started in 1900. We had a very short war. It was actually longer than the one with Italy, with 0 battles against Russia. Then skip ahead to 1913, and we had a much larger war by far here against Italy, where we got pretty much just a bunch of victories in terms of the minors and the majors, and we did pretty well. It wasn't too bloody, but we got concessions and we took over Sardinia from that, separate to the concessions. We actually invaded that, and then we took some war reparations from their economy. Then, we go all the way to 1920, and we had another war with Italy, which shows with 2 Italian flags. I don't know why, but this ended in a white peace. We had a couple major victories, but it was actually less eventful overall than this was. There was more losses on either side, but the battles themselves were less conclusive, and it was mostly just stuff happening in the background. No great pause this time. Just a couple years later, starting in 1923, we had a much larger war against Italy. Eventually, Russia joined. I can say they weren't even allied here. It's just this is who we end up fighting, where we won some victories, not as many decisive victories in our favor as here. And I've been trying to name some of them a little bit more, but there was a lot of battles that were kind of indecisive, kind of inconclusive. You could see the red bar is actually my prestige level going up over time and down with some decisions, but it's just been going up, 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 up. And in this war, we actually got more war reparations, roughly 50% more war reparations than the first war, that we actually didn't just, get a white peace out of. And in this one, we also invaded and took over Rhodes and Albania, both things that Italy went ahead and colonized after we took Sardinia for them. So in this period right here, they had Albania during this, and I was hoping to get it, but due to some mistakes loading up saves, we failed there. But we've now had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wars total from 1900 to now the end of 1924, hitting 1925. We just got out of the last one, and finally, we've reached a point where if we look at Italy, their base resources, 23,243. Ours is 28,879. We actually have more now, base resources, now that we've taken a total of 10 war points, reparation points, I guess, worth of reparations from them. We finally surpassed them there. Temporarily. I'm sure they'll catch up. Additionally, I've now taken a value of 13 worth of colonies from them, that being Sardinia, that being Albania, which are 4 each, and that being Rhodes, which is worth 1. No, never mind, that's 9. Okay, we've taken 9 from them. I'm including the Dalmatia that we started with. That's 13. But we have, from possessions, 350 income. They have 342 because Sicily is worth 12. So that's why we're so close there. But we've taken everything from them except Sicily. Sicily is too big to take over. Look at the map here, you'll see. They don't own anything else. Well, actually, they also own 1 more colony. It's way out here. It's Eritrea. But I don't want to defend this. I'd have to stop building short-range fleets to be able to pull that off. I just want as many possessions in the Mediterranean as possible. Still, nobody really has Greece. But I'm sure we'll end up at war with Italy again. I'm sure that we will. Realistically, right? I'm sure that we will. But Italy has nothing for us to take at this point, though I'm sure they'll start a war just because we possess things that they want. In the long run, fighting France for their colonies here, that would be the next way we could gain ports to place, airship bases, air bases later, and other things that would expand our grip on the Mediterranean to make every war here easier for us. It's also Great Britain at some point, maybe. But I feel like any war from this point onwards, because it's probably going to be with Italy still. Spain, I don't know, doubtful. We haven't gotten to fight them once, and I was hoping to fight them quite a bit. Spain has nothing to give us other than war reparations. Italy doesn't either. And Spain's war reparations, their economy is at 14,600 7-4. That is way below Italy, way below me. We've also kind of caught up to Japan in terms of base resources. We passed them, but their possessions are worth more. And I don't think we're going to grow as fast, base resources, as Italy and Japan. So it's going to take wars to keep up and keep surpassing in that way. And then we're still nowhere near France. We are close-ish to Russia. Germany and Great Britain and America are just going up and up and up ahead of us. And we'll probably never catch up. Because Italy and Russia are still allied, I'm going to leave my spies there. No increases, no decreases. It should be fine. Chances to get some of their tech because Russia is advanced. Italy's average. We could potentially get some tech, and I just want to have that intel on Italy because I expect them to fight me again. Spain is just so weak, they never want to fight. It'd be funny to see Spain fight Italy because at this point, they stand a chance. After that last war, the Italian fleet is smaller than the Spanish fleet, which is hysterical. Of course, Italy's boasting a bunch of airships and planes that Spain doesn't have. Now, we have a lot of things repairing. So we're going to have to let that kind of go a little bit, but also not entirely. So for example, my pre-dreads, I'm pretty confident will never make it into any more wars at this point. I'm going to mothball all of them. However, that will halt the repairs on this one. I might go ahead and just let these repairs finish. I'll put them on reserves for now to let those repairs finish. Our battleships, I don't know if these will make it into another war because we're about to start pumping out new battleships that are 35,000 tons, that have actual pretty good AA capabilities, and I didn't have to make a whole lot of concessions on them. I've min-maxed the armor within the points of no return. We have a total of 5 guns on either side that are 16 inches, bigger than I've seen anybody else using. We now technically have 18 inches, but they're -1. 16 is kind of like this awesome point. They could use more ammo. I did have to cut some stuff a little bit because we didn't have as great of hull savings, and I'm not really able to fix this up at the moment. I intend these battleships thus to have a pretty decent lifespan. They have 25 speed, whatnot. I also plan to make battle cruisers that are going to be based on this. We're actually because I think the next generation of battle cruisers, if built to last, might be the last generation of battle cruisers, because then we're almost right now at the point of heavy cruisers making their way onto the world stage. And that combined with aircraft makes these massive battle cruisers not effective, very cost ineffective, and that's kind of what phased them out in history. Regardless, maybe lacking something in ammo and armaments, I plan to hopefully make the Budapest last because technology has stopped advancing too much. I believe these can last way better than this thing can that we already have right now, which has unfortunately only 12-inch guns, and that really, really hurts it. It's got a ton of 6-inchers, which makes it still pretty decent. So this might last at least a little bit longer. I'm not sure. I'm going to put it in reserve fleet. We're not going to mothball it because I'm not sure if it's going to last into another war. It may last for one more war. I'm not sure. I'm trying to save as much money as possible right now because I know I need to pump out a bunch of new battleships. They're going to have pretty long lifespans. See, another problem with this, though, is the 19 speed. It doesn't have the range, and it doesn't have the speed. It has the armor, and it's great at close range. This is like half current Dreadnought and half pre-Dreadnought design philosophy before we had to worry about air or anything. Tons of armor. For battle cruisers, we only have 3, and they are repairing. I'm going to put them in reserves. They could be fixed up to last a little bit longer, but I'm only going to use these if I need to, right? Our light cruisers here are becoming more and more relevant. We did lose 2 of them in that war. I know they will stick around, but I might relegate them to trade protection in the future because I want to make a big battleship and big battle cruiser fleet to cover fleet battles and things like that, since I think it's becoming more possible, since we don't really have to try very hard to match Italy right now because we've completely fucked them up. So every single light cruiser is going into reserves. Just for clarity, reserves is 50% maintenance, mothball is 30% maintenance, but they have differing effects on the crew quality. Right now we're throwing away a lot of elite good crew quality, but it's fine. Again, look at the difference in tonnages here. Italy's been spamming out subs, so this is really going to take away from their ability to have as much of a surface fleet. We have more destroyers than them. I'm going to stop pumping out this old design. We're going to just end with 51. It's over 5 years old now, the design. And eventually we'll just get a new design that's actually way better at anti-air. Because this was made when we only had like light anti-air. It's not going to be really as good at that form of the escort role. But for right now, all of our destroyers are functional. I'll just keep the amount that we have, make it function. We're going to get rid of all these pre-dreads for sure the moment I get another 5 battleships out, at least, of the new design. The light cruisers, we're not going to be making any more. Italy doesn't even have as much as we have. We're just going to keep that 8, shift them to help with trade protection. We are currently building more corvettes, permanent corvettes, a mixture of minesweepers and ASW ships. They're not going to be doing anything for a while, mind you, so any of the ones that are not working up, all these corvettes are going to just go into the reserves. Not mothball this time, because I want them to be a little more ready in case something suddenly happens again. But I need to cut the spending as many places as I can, because we need to be able to afford to pump all these out. We need to be able to continue pumping out these submarines I started building, like, at the start of this prior war. I'm going to keep all 17, because the capabilities are going to be pretty similar, and even then, in terms of submarine fleets, 17 is kind of just on par with some of the other fleets. And the mine layers in the med are pretty useful. It helps us maintain torpedo sub coverage, as well as mines in our own home waters. Those corvettes, though, for minesweeping and for ASW, they're going to be increasingly important with time here. As corvettes finish their working up, then we will shift them into reserves as well. We have destroyers working up as well. I'm going to have all the destroyers go into reserve fleet as well, so we could save a bunch of maintenance, but not hinder them too badly. And so that they're easier to swap into active forces as soon as possible. Because we know we're keeping these. I'm mothballing anything I know that I'm not keeping, reserving things that I know that I'm keeping, because at this point, Italy's weaker than us. So I don't think they're going to aggress as much. Nobody else really has a good chance to aggress on us, because nobody else is really in the Mediterranean. There's Great Britain, but we tend to be pretty friendly with them. There's France, but they're our allies, even if they didn't help me in that prior war, which I am still kind of mad about. Any other shifting of things that I have not already showed, you know, as repairs finish, anything that I didn't catch, which I'm pretty sure I have caught most of them, I will be doing off camera, but just note, that is my plan. That is what we are doing here. Coastal fortifications, we have some new air bases that we built up in roads. We are going to, I think we might still be building them, but I'm going to expand these to 16 airships. All locations will have airship bases, and they will have 16 airships. These airships will continue to be useful for us at least through the next war, if not the next 2. It's a very cost-effective way of handling things. Can we expand our air base? No. Eventually, I will build more air bases. We do have more planes to be able to use now, for sure, that we're going to want to start finding ways to use, but I guess I'll talk about that when I get to it. We're making sure every place has 2 MTB squadrons in it. They may not be the most useful, but at nighttime, where our planes are not currently going to be the most effective, it's nice to have something with torps. As we just saw in that last war, torps in the water in the middle of the night, that is a deadly effective thing. And so as much cheap MTBs as possible would be fantastic. I don't actually know why I'm letting any of this stuff work up, thinking about it. Because they don't need to work up. They don't need to work up to be anything good. So anything that's working up, actually, I'm just going to immediately put in the reserve fleet. They don't need to work up. Absolutely nothing needs to work up. Let me sort. So you got repairs, mothballs. Okay. That's fine. Anything else that finishes, and a lot of stuff is about to finish this upcoming turn, I'm going to immediately put in reserve fleet to save that money. Since we have so much money that's going to be available, we have to get started on these battleships. Alright, I designed them, they finished last year, and I haven't made any yet. Unfortunately, they cost a fuck ton of money to make, so even right now we can hardly make any, but I'm gonna put one of these onto the designs. I love how the first Budapest is not gonna be called the Budapest. It's gonna be the Slawonian. Is there not like a Budapest name? There might be a different Budapest in service right now. So yeah, we'll just take some random name. For the first Budapest battleship, we'll start making it. Oh my god, I thought I had more money than that. What the fuck happened to my overall money? Does it take just a bunch of money up front now? It's supposed to have a big monthly build cost. Well, either way, this balance will survive those funds. And next turn, we're going to have a lot of stuff coming in anyway. So, we could definitely go ahead and just pump it over the next turn. Private shipbuilding, expanding my dock size. Thank God. Finished an airship base in Rhodes. Commissioned one of our new subs. 2 corvettes are commissioned. 5 destroyers. I'll be doing all that organization off camera. Don't you worry. And there you go. I'm going ahead and tossing those destroyers into divisions that are missing destroyers. We may have to just like get rid of one altogether because we're no longer going to have 60 of these. So like this one right here, we could probably get rid of one of these. This one has like 2 ships in it. Let us dissolve this division and we could toss these ones up here. Because each one is 6. We're not going to have 60 anymore, so we don't need 10. We're going to have less than 60. 9 might cover everything. I don't know. I'm not very good at math. Regardless, monthly balance is slightly in the positive. We're going to let that build up a little bit because the costs of construction every month on these things is 4K. And that's insane, even with Italy's money. That is insane. At some point, we also need to just catch up to the dock size everybody else has. We have 36K dock size. Everyone else is starting to reach towards 50K dock size, with the exception of Spain, who, by the way, has surpassed me in dock size. That's wonderful. So my battleships are going to be mini compared to what anybody else can be building right now, and that's why they don't have quite as much armament. I'm hoping to solve that as time goes on, but first, we have to solve the fact that both me and Italy have had our fleets completely upended, and we want to fix that. And the first thing I need to do to fix that is to get at least 5 battleships out to finally get rid of these pre-dreads. Maybe standardize the fleet with 10. Maybe we keep these other ones here for now in a little bit of a reserve. I haven't really decided. We have to see how the finances go. We have to see how the timing goes. And because I need so many battle cruisers, it's insane. We also have our first ever medium bomber being made, so that's cool. But we're still using a 1920 fighter. They keep giving me designs that are worse. I'll try again. Firepower, maneuverability, fighter. Another 6-month process to see if they give me a better fighter. My naval patrol aircraft got its own little successor. It's like a follow-up to the last one, so you know, that's fine. Go ahead and use that. I don't do too much air stuff, but with the Mediterranean, land air is going to be insane. I can tell because my blimps, they can reach all over the Mediterranean. So as plane tech gets better and these ranges start going up and up and up to be able to match blimps, planes are going to be devastating in this area. They're going to be able to cover the whole fucking thing and become pretty devastating. And so we got to slowly ease ourselves into that. But the fleet comes first. Another corvette was commissioned into the Navy. Weight savings. The weight savings will help as time goes on. Whenever we make our battle cruisers, even if it's going to be like a mini version of this battleship, it's going to be more efficient, more speed focused, less focused on anything else. It's going to be more capable, maybe, overall, just because of weight savings. I can already see the weight savings adding up. And no, okay. Tension with Spain reduced because they feel too weak. Italy increases due to historical enmity. Really? Historical enmity even in 1925? I feel like that little thing should go away. Of course, even as I'm weaker, Spain still feels too weak to challenge me. If Italy is going to challenge me again, they're fucking out of their minds at this point. Like, I don't know what the hell you think you're doing. With the way these little 6-inch or lower guns are developing, I feel like they shouldn't even be bringing as much AP at this point. So we could go something more like roughly 2/3 HE, 1/3 AP. They use mostly HE at every range, just AP at close range. And even then, I'm not even sure if they should be using AP at this point. 4 to 6 inches at this point, because armor is just being worth more and more, and these guns aren't necessarily being worth as much. Let's be a little less crazy with that extreme right there. Seeing as my 11-inch plus, my big guns are about to get more and more, they're gonna get bigger, and armor is not going to be improving as much as guns are right now. We're gonna start bringing some sap ammo. I'm gonna take that out of the AP for right now. We're not gonna main sap ammo for anything quite yet, but it's gonna be there as a little bit of an option. I've gone ahead and changed this as well. 7 to 10 inches. These aren't even getting used very much. We're talking like the armament of a heavy cruiser. Right now, nothing's actually using what a heavy cruiser would use. I'll probably just do the same for now, even though, again, we're not really using any of those. But by the time we do, we might have to worry about heavy cruisers going up against like destroyers, in which case HE and SAP could be pretty useful. Not that I can just fully tell them what to do, but that's what we're changing. Actually, that's wrong. I can tell them fully what to do. Maybe not for destroyers, but like a light cruiser is never going to be very armored. So we don't need, I don't even know why we have like AP selected. I guess because it was HP or HE. But when I said this in my brain, I wasn't thinking of like pass-through hits. Not that that stopped me from slaughtering anything, but we should definitely consider changing this. If we have a light cruiser at short range, what we need is not AP. It's SAP for 11 inches or higher. Anything else could potentially just be AP. Like, well, HE for long range against anything, I feel like is still the best idea. But a light cruiser, I feel like we should just always be firing SAP at light cruisers or lower, because they'll never have the armor to do anything about it. And then it's the same thing here. HE, just all the way HE. Now, 4 to 6 inches, yeah, you want to probably be firing HE. Maybe I actually want to bring more SAP than I'm bringing. Yeah, I think I'll actually change it so it's 20% HE, 20% SAP, and 60% AP, HE. I don't know what I'm saying. And we're going to change it so we have SAP for like heavy inch guns. We have SAP for short range against light cruisers. Medium range AP because we want that extra AP value at that point. HE at the longest ranges because, well, the penetration value won't actually be that great there. 4 to 6 inches I think is fine against a light cruiser. The AP at short to medium range should be pretty decent. HE at the longest rates. We're not going to bring SAP, I think, anyway, anytime soon for 4 to 6 inch guns. The main thing this would come in handy with is we're talking like light cruisers versus light cruisers. I think I might at least give them the option and have them bring 10% SAP if it's their main gun. But secondaries, no, secondaries are never going to need this. We won't put the SAP in here, but they can still use some. I'll let them bring 10% SAP. There's probably times where your main gun using SAP would be pretty good. Like at some short range, especially if you're running out of AP, because I'm bulking you up with HE anyway. Then that should be fine. That's only for light cruisers. For heavy cruisers now, we have to look. AP all the way, like we're getting 16 inch, you know, this is going to become pretty fucking useless. AP at this close of range with 11 plus inches. We're going 16 inches at this point. Nah, dude, that's got to be SAP. And we got to have HE at long range for sure. I'm realizing with the way these are looking across all ships, actually, I'll bump up HE a bit on the 7 to 11 plus. Lower SAP down to 15. That's going to be a more accurate alignment of how we're actually going to use these, because 7 to 10 inches against an armored cruiser, heavy cruiser, HE at a distance for sure, but then probably AP all the way. Their SAP is going to be primarily useful against something like a light cruiser if we get up close. The 11 inches probably need the most SAP, but getting close to ships like this, it's probably not something they're going to make a pretty massive habit of or anything. We'll lower the SAP to 5% for 4 to 6 inch main, get a little more AP, because we don't really know how useful that's going to be for 4 to 6 inches. All of this is guesswork, really. Heavy cruisers, HE at everything but short range, 4 to 6. That seems pretty smart. I almost feel like more HE might be necessary. Maybe some SAP. I'm tempted to do SAP up close on heavy cruisers, but I feel like AP at that point is pretty important as well. So, nah, we'll just keep that. And then now for the battleships, this is where it's going to be like super armor. We're like going all AP or HE. There's really no room for SAP. The armor of, you know, heavy cruisers is just like almost as good, but not quite as good. So we can fit some SAP in here, but like, I don't know if I would risk SAP from like a heavy cruiser gun against a heavy cruiser. But they are more likely to get into fights with light cruisers than battleships are, so I'll still leave them with that extra bit of SAP regardless. And then we have the big boys, the battleships. At this point, I don't know that a 4 to 6 inch is going to be doing anything against a battleship. So we'll probably put that all to HE. Reflecting just how much HE we have these set to use, we'll do a little change right there and right there. Definitely want to favor HE for 4 to 6 inches at this point, because they're rolling all HE against some targets, and I don't really think that that's going to change. HE at long range, 7 to 10 inches against battleships. That still sounds good. Considering the ammo split, we don't want to stress HE rounds too much, so it's going to be AP for 7 to 10 at medium and short range, because our 10 inchers do have a good chance to penetrate, but maybe not with SAP. We still need that amount of SAP, though, because, of course, cruisers are going to fight cruisers. That's the best chance to use SAP, even if most of it's going to go up against light cruisers anyway. And then battleships, I'm quite happy with how our battleships would handle just AP. HE at the longest distances where we're least likely to penetrate anything except the deck, of which the chances are not very good. So that's my first overhaul of this since coming into the Dreadnought era, because I feel like it finally needed to be changed. It was pretty well set, in my opinion. At least it was working pretty well for me when going up against shit like pre-Dreadnoughts, but it definitely did need to be changed. Here's something interesting I find. Either due to money or some other circumstance, Italy, who was building 2 more Dreadnoughts, has either scrapped 2 Dreadnoughts that are old, or they've just paused the construction of 2 of their Dreadnoughts. So they're at 5 right now. Meaning, with my current construction plan, we will end up with a bigger battle fleet than they have. I've noticed Spain's fleet, their total tonnage actually went down a little bit as well, so Italy's ahead of them again. It will be quite interesting to see how this all turns out. Let's put this into reserve fleet. There you go. And then let's pop it over into the next turn. Nope, I'm not allowed to yet. We finished construction of MTB squadrons in Rhodes. 2 new destroyers have been commissioned, and otherwise it's a nice peaceful world. One thing I wish about this game was that other nations went to war more. It's usually just the player goes to war, the war ends, and then the world just goes back to peace. I feel like the tensions should stay up, even if the players has finished their war. The AI should just keep fighting. They should still have their own separate wars. And I don't know, I just wish the AI would go to war more. Fun fact, I was going to get Rule of the Waves too, but the ability for the AI to go to war in the background was so important to me that I waited till Rule of the Waves 3 to actually get into this game. But honestly, it's pretty lackluster. It's still all based around the player. If the player pieces out, the whole world's at peace now. The AI wars in the background are not nearly frequent or dynamic enough for my liking. Man, it takes almost 3 years to build one of these battleships. We better have a nice long peacetime, because even right now, there's not a whole lot that I can do. I can't scrap those pre-dreads until we have stuff to replace them. Otherwise, the Kaiser gets all mad. So mothball is the best I can do. Dude, look at this. Even in reserve, the maintenance is so high for some of these newer ships. We're just going to save up a little bit this turn, though. Finish up a bunch of 6-inch coastal batteries in Rhodes. Finish up a submarine. Get some more money coming in. And here we are, April 1925. And we have enough income, certainly, to go ahead and build another Budapest battleship. So we're going to go ahead and just order that right now. That time I didn't lose a bunch of funds, visibly. We still have a little bit of extra income from that, but we do have our second Budapest building. Like 8 more to go, right? However, that's going to be it for this episode. I wanted to take some time, a lot of time, and go over some stuff, change some doctrine, talk about the progress up till now, and kind of set the stage for the future. Maybe tinker around with some designs in the background. It's currently 1925. We are starting to rapidly approach the 30s. I'd love to hear what you guys think about how this playthrough, my first ever playthrough, which has some fumbles, it has some mistakes, is going. Let me know what you think of my strategies, how well I'm doing with Austria Hungary on my first ever playthrough, which turned out to be more of a challenge than I might have bargained for, and I hope to see you guys on the next episode.